Hello, and welcome to another episode of Speak Film and Enter, a podcast where we review and rank movies. I'm Nate.
And I'm Adam.
Today, we're reviewing the second Pixar movie of 2022.
Second.
Yes, exactly what it is. The second Pixar movie of 2022. Been very kind to us in releasing two movies this year in the first half of the year. Not that we're getting another one, but yeah, Lightyear. I don't even know. I was going to call it anticipated. Was it?
I mean, this is one of the movies I was super high on this year, but only because of the teaser trailer. Because I try not to watch trailers, but the teaser trailer for this is perfection. I think that is the formula that studios need to follow when showing hype or trying to gain hype for a movie. They put a great soundtrack on it. They put Starman, David Bowie, and just let it say, "Ooh, there's a little bit of this, there's a little bit of that, a little bit of this." Good luck. Like, go figure it out. Go watch it, figure it out. And I was just like, all I needed was space adventure. It's freaking Chris Evans and it's Buzz Lightyear. Like that. That's all I needed. Yeah, it was a 30 second teaser trailer. That's it. That's how you do a trailer. Take note, everyone.
Okay, so anticipated for Adam, we can confirm, and myself as well, especially like Pixar back in the theaters. But I kind of went in with like guarded optimism, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Before we get any further, do we want to tell people what it's about?
Yes, I should probably bring it up on IMDb first, as I was looking for a quote instead of the movie that we're reviewing, because I like to plan things very, very clearly. So Lightyear. While spending years attempting to return home, marooned space ranger Buzz Lightyear encounters an army of ruthless robots commanded by Zurg, who are attempting to steal his fuel source.
Yes.
There you have it. So we're introduced to the main villain.
5-year-olds love movies about fuel sources.
Well, this is true. I mean, as they state at the beginning of the movie, I suppose we'll just jump into it. As they state at the beginning of the movie, the reason Buzz Lightyear is a toy is because of a movie that Andy liked, and he got it for his birthday. This is the movie that Andy liked that that made Buzz Lightyear a toy icon.
Right.
So, it's all about that merch sale, baby.
Yeah. Which is funny because, like, naturally they sold a bunch of Buzz Lightyear toys because of Toy Story.
Yep.
It's like you can really get down the meta rabbit hole if you just keep going far enough with this concept. So I don't really know where to start with this one. I guess, does it live up to the Buzz Lightyear name for you? And did it feel like a movie that a 5-year-old would lose their mind over?
I don't know about lose their mind over. I mean, I don't remember in Toy Story how old Andy's supposed to be.
He's 5.
Is he 5?
Pretty sure 5 or 6.
I don't know about lose your mind, because they're going to lose a lot of the, obviously, like the nuance in the storyline. They're just going to go like, ooh, spaceman and like monsters and whatever.
Right.
I would say, like, from what I was expecting it to be about to what I got, it was a little simple, which I guess isn't necessarily like a knock against it, because if it's for like it in universe, like 5-6-year-olds, somewhere in there, like 5 to 10-year-olds, we'll call it. Like, I think it does its job. Do I think it's like the best version of a sci-fi movie we can ever get? No. But if Pixar can make something like this good, I really loved the like animation. If they can make something this good, there's no reason we can't have like a really, really good Halo movie, because we're not talking about that stupid freaking show, because it's garbage and it probably costs 10 times as much as this movie did.
Heard a lot of people like that show.
It's bad. And they're wrong. There's no reason we can't get a good Halo show. There's no reason we can't get a good, probably the best game series of all time as far as space exploration goes, Mass Effect. There's no reason we can't do the same thing. Buzz Lightyear basically looks like all of the armor that you get in that video game. That can be a movie. We can expand this into different IPs and make this animation, make it all work, make a thrilling space adventure movie be interesting. I know there's obviously other ones like it, but I thought the how good this looked in comparison to some of the other, I wouldn't say Pixar movies because they always look fantastic, but I thought this looked especially crisp. His armor, like the look of thing, like the monster we never get a name for, like the vines, like stuff like that
Oh,
was
yeah.
animated just beautifully. And I was like, the sheen on his helmet or the glass shielding is just, it was just so good. I love the ship. Just a lot to love. This is also a genre I tend to really, really go for. So,
right. So I think, kind of to bounce off your point of saying the story was simpler, I guess I sort of agree, but I would call it a smaller story than what I was expecting from a Buzz Lightyear movie, where it's kind of, it's on a planet. There aren't that many characters for various plot reasons that we don't need to really get into, unless, do we want to do spoilers for this?
I think we can. I mean, it's
new
and it's coming out.
I don't think we need to dive into every single thing in the movie, but I don't think,
yeah,
I don't think we need to worry about spoiling this for people.
Yeah.
But the fact that, like, they're all kind of, they've got the dome as a convenient thing, keeping the robots out to mean, like, we don't need to worry about all these other people. Sorry. Yes, the laser shield. And so it leaves us this sort of small story on this little planet that was fine for me, but did not feel, I felt like a Buzz Lightyear movie should have felt a lot more epic than this.
I would agree.
And that's, it should have been about more. Kind of felt like some character focused thing that just didn't feel like what a 90s action movie that a child would love. Like,
yeah, if he's
that's
a space
where
marine,
I have struggled, because I think the movie's fine, but it also doesn't quite live up to what they told me it was going to be.
That's fair. Yeah, I would agree with that. I mean, again, I only tried to watch the teaser trailer. I caught other trailers, bits of other trailers.
Well, when I say what they told me it was going to be, I'm not talking about the trailer. I'm talking about the concept of a movie that a child loved in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
A big science fiction action movie. Like, Buzz Lightyear in this movie, the character is not really that cool or something that I can see kids like losing their mind over. It felt like a very now movie that was trying to cater to children as well as people our age who grew up with the Toy Story movies and are older, and also like every Pixar movie, like their parents as well. And they're trying to check so many boxes. And this to me felt like something that needed to be like hyper specific of an era and a type of movie that they've never made before. And in many ways, this is a type of movie they've never made before, but it didn't feel like what I thought it should feel like for a 90s action movie.
Yeah, I liked that, like, part of it was grounded in his relationship with his commander, but also I thought that dragged the story down. Like, it shouldn't have been just about, like, the respect he has for her and, like, the conversations and how, like, her perceptions of what's their situation changes and that sort of thing. I like it, but I just thought, like, I didn't need that much of it. I would have liked it to be more expansive than that, because I feel like that's truly what the movie is about. That's character motivations and dealing. I mean, maybe there's some themes about just like getting older and how it changes things and how you start to view the world differently and you view your situation differently. Some people settle, some people don't. Some people always want to, finish the mission, as they say in the movie, and try to get through some stuff. But that was the part that, like, I really was like, okay, I get it. Like, she's aging, all that stuff. I just don't need more of her. I want to see what else we can explore, what else we can get to.
Yeah, they spent a lot of time there for sure. And there is a montage that I think is pretty well done, kind of as she's aging. But because of the way they structured it, the part that people are going to sort of remember, like kind of the inciting incident of, like, he went forward 20 some years and comes back and, like, Zurg is and, like, it's changed and everything. That started a lot later in the movie than I thought it was going to. So there's kind of a feeling, for me at least, of, like, waiting for the movie to start.
Yeah, get the background-ish stuff out of the way so I can watch the good part that I came here to see.
Right. And that's just more of again, like, setting a certain expectation, or just, I don't know, just kind of lingering in a part of the story where it could have been done much more economically, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I wouldn't call this a disappointing movie. I would say I was slightly let down with where it ended up being. The themes or the storyline in general, that stuff specifically, when we get to he comes back from 22 years in the past, essentially, And now there's all this other new stuff. And I also thought it was weird that when there's this new stuff, when the robots are there and Zurg is there, they're like, oh yeah, that happened a week ago. It was like, really? Like just a week ago? I was gone for 22 years and it happened a week ago and it's this bad? Like it should have been, this happened 5 years ago and we've been living under this rule for a little while.
I think I like that point. I think that would have been much more interesting as a way to kind of, establish that like they've done something. And I know they wanted to give this story kind of these three like fresh, inexperienced troopers or whatever, but you okay?
Sorry, my dog is barking at something upstairs and I want to know what it is. Nobody should be here, so I think somebody might be at my door. If he keeps barking, I'll leave, but
yeah, that's fine.
Sorry. I just was like, I can hear it. I hope you can't hear it on the pod.
I could not, by the way.
Okay.
So
So it's just my facial features.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Where it just felt a little like, okay, you're gone 22 years a week ago. That's kind of a whatever for me, although I would have been interested in seeing them do it a different way.
Yeah.
The biggest disappointment for me, honestly, was how lame I just hated what they did with Zurg. Like having it be old Buzz. Like what?
Yeah.
That did not work for me at all.
His animation and stuff, like in the Zurg suit and all that stuff, was really cool. I thought that looked great. And
the movie looks
like
great.
shades of Star Wars, and there's shades of like WALL-E in this movie. There's different bits. Obviously, that's where a lot of that parody came in the original Toy Story for Star Wars and that sort of thing. But it felt cheap. It felt like, oh, we're just going to use this like everyone else is doing. It's time. And he didn't even come from a different universe. He just came from more time out. And it's like, I don't just give me a bad guy. Just give me a bad guy who wants to be bad.
And that's again for a movie like this that's supposed to be ostensibly a 90s action movie. And also, like, why would they ever make a Zurg toy if this was if it's just Buzz? Like, give me a traditional villain in this movie. And I'm not somebody who needs that very often, but this is set up in a way where it's supposed to be something to me. Yeah. And, and this is getting fairly decent reception. There are people who are going to like this movie a lot, and good for you. I don't want people to dislike this movie, but I found it frustrating in many ways. We're just kind of I constantly felt like for 5 minutes, I was like, okay, they're picking up steam here and this is going to be really cool. And then every time they took a turn or what everything ended up turning into just felt like, oh, that's it.
That wasn't the best version. Yeah,
exactly. Agreed. Yeah. It just constantly felt like not the best version of the direction the story could go. And for Pixar, again, I mean, I've mentioned this with their other movies. I haven't loved one of their movies since Coco. Yeah. I know you like Soul a lot. I do like Soul. I didn't love it, but for me, it's their best movies. I think it's far superior to Lightyear here and like Turning Red, but it's just been disappointing to see kind of a decline. Like they're not even remotely in a stretch similar to like The Incredibles, Finding Nemo, Ratatouille, WALL-E stuff that they were coming out in the early 2000s. And that's not to say this movie is bad. I think it's fine.
Exactly.
But I found that disappointing given the hype around it and the fact that they felt the need to like make a movie out of Buzz Lightyear. It didn't live up to all the weight that they placed on it.
Yeah, that's definitely the weak point of the movie. And that's disappointing because I love that studios are trying to find new storylines within universes they already have, right? Like I think this is a really cool original idea for us in universe toy. We're gonna make a movie about the toy that was like all that meta stuff. Like I thought that was really interesting, kind of like how Star Wars did like Rogue One, the story of how they got the Death Star plans for Episode 4, like the first movie. Like really interesting. They found a way to make it work. It's cool. It's just the execution on this one was a little lackluster, and based on their own previous reputation for the Toy Story series, let alone the rest of their movies. I expected this to be a little bit more grandiose and have a little bit more to say, maybe.
Yeah, I thought they were gonna have something more because they know the weight and like the reputation of the Toy Story movies. It's almost like it's bigger than Pixar itself. Almost.
Yeah,
it's like kind of its own thing. And I felt like they're not gonna risk a Lightyear movie unless they're really, really confident in it. And if they were really, really confident in just this, that worries me.
Yeah, it's a little disappointing. I had something else I was going to say. This continues the trend of Pixar choosing movies or making movies that aren't about, they're not against something. It's like you and a small group versus a problem, but it's not really a problem. You know what I mean? We're like Turning Red isn't, there's not like a villain in Turning Red. There's not a villain in Soul necessarily. It's just, it's more philosophical, which I generally really like. But
so what they're doing, I guess how I would describe it is kind of, they're manifesting like kind of the character journey, like the internal character journey. They're turning that into like a physical problem in the world.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, it's fine. It's a little abnormal because they don't give us a traditional thing to, like you're saying, like a thing to be against or to overcome necessarily. Like you can do both. Most movies do both. Most movies have some type of thing you need to achieve, which Lightyear does until Zurg is just also Buzz.
Yeah.
Then it just, and doing those types of movies can be really interesting. It's kind of a formula that you see a lot of indie movies actually do. But I don't know, they've been inconsistent with their ability to actually do that. I mean, you know, something like Ratatouille is kind of that way, although not exactly, but just kind of think of some of their older movies. But
yeah, that's probably the closest to something like this that there is, because Igor, I believe his name is, like the food critic.
Yeah.
Is a bad guy, but he's not really a huge part of the movie. Like we're afraid of him the whole time because we want a good review.
He kind of, his opinion looms.
Yeah, but he's not like the main problem in the movie.
Right.
The main crux of anything. I saw a tweet that was something like, old Pixar used to be you versus your parents, and now it's kind of you and your parents versus the world, or versus like things. And it's like,
that's
it's a paraphrase. I saw it today, but I didn't remember it exactly. But that's right, because there's not necessarily a problem. Like there's not necessarily like of some one physical thing to go after, to fight, and you beat that, and then you win, and everything's fine.
It's kind of just the thing that you thought was a problem isn't really a problem.
Yeah, it's more fixable than possible.
A lot of what it's been, which again is fine if you do it right. I mean, I think they've also just like really leaned hard into kind of the formula of that Up gave them, where I feel like structurally we saw a lot more interesting stuff before Up, and then since that came out, they've used like every movie as an opportunity to try to make everybody cry, and they seem to only really know one way to do that. Outside,
I mean, that's been Disney's problems for years, right? Just kill a parent and goodbye. Like,
I mean, before like Up, I think Toy Story 2 with the Jessie montage, which is beautiful, by the way. I think it's the only time outside of like the end of maybe Monsters, Inc., it didn't feel like it was required for a Pixar movie to make you cry. It wasn't the expectation. They just had some scenes.
It was so powerful that
they just had some scenes that did, and now it just feels like they're kind of forcing it a little bit, like with the montage that we get here with his partner, which again is, I think, pretty well done. It just feels like the concepts are still fresh and unique, but kind of the storytelling devices that they're using are becoming a little stale.
Yeah, and it's weird because it feels like Pixar is trying to branch out and tell different stories, or trying to branch out and use different devices to make their stories interesting and not make everything look exactly the same. Because I mean, they've only got 25 movies, right?
Something
we don't want
like
all of something like that. We don't want them to all feel like the hero's journey, or like Bug's Life. Oh my goodness, I just said Bug's Life, Toy Story. Cars, for even if you want to throw that in there, like you don't want to have that traditional thing and you hit this beat, you hit this beat, you hit this beat, is standard Pixar movie, like we could say about Marvel. They're trying to innovate, they're trying to do new things, it just isn't always hitting right. So I wonder if in 10-15 years, and when we revisit these a little bit further removed from them, if we start to appreciate them a little bit more, or go, I really liked what they did here instead of this other thing. But for the moment, it's like I said, I liked the movie. It was just a little lackluster.
Yeah.
So
I agree with that. You want to get into the stars then?
Sure thing. We will be right back with our star ratings. All right. So our stars. I can go first. I think you've gone first the last couple times.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure. I am fully on the nostalgia goggles train. I went with a 3.5. I don't necessarily believe myself when I say a 3.5 because of the issues we've just talked about.
You liked it. That's good.
But I liked it. I really liked the animation, and it, like, the entire time I was thinking, like, we can make a Mass Effect movie. We can make a good Halo series. We have the technology. Like, yes, it will be more mature than this was, but like the look of everything, the stylization, the ideas of the laser shield and the robots and like how Zurg looked and everything. I was like, we can do these really interesting stories that we haven't had an opportunity to tell in a different medium. Like, they're there for they're ripe for the taking. We just got to get the right deals done with the companies and make it work and get a good, get a good storyline, because Mass Effect would be impossible to tell because it's so expansive. Kind of like a Dune in that way. There's just a lot of shit going on. And obviously it's a game, so you're first person. And you experience everything. I really liked all of that. I loved getting a Buzz Lightyear movie. Like I said, the creative ideas, finding new niches or finding new storylines within previous IPs is wonderful to me. I think that's kind of a fresh thing that Hollywood isn't really trying to do. It's a ton of sequels lately. I say last like 5-10 years. We get a lot of those. So getting something like this was really exciting. Again, the teaser trailer hyped me up to no, literally to infinity. Perhaps beyond. And that's maybe that's where I was expecting too much. Having all 4 Toy Stories be amazing. This one be just not quite hitting those heights of the previous, in-universe type stuff. So
yeah,
a 3.5. I fully expect this to go down at least a half star. I would say probably only a half star, but I'd like to see it again, and when it comes on VOD, and see what I think of it then.
Yeah,
but 3.5
on Disney Plus within a few months, I would think.
Yep. So 3.5 for me.
I was definitely a little lower. Found this a little disappointing. I didn't think it was bad, but I'm gonna give it a 2.5 out of 5. I think it's, like I said, I think it's fine. If I do wonder how people, like really little kids, like if you see this before any of the Toy Story movies somehow, how they would feel about that. I'd be curious to hear that. And then the one thing actually that was worrying me the most going into the movie was Socks, the robot cat, which we didn't talk about yet. So
We can though.
I'll bring up a little bit, but Socks did not bother me as much as I thought he would. I still just
you hate the cute sidekicks, so
it was kind of, I just hate the really I don't know, the humor for Socks was just dumb. But he did more than just that. Like basically all the stuff I didn't like for Socks was in the trailer.
Yeah.
But it was the only thing we saw of him. Yeah, I just think that's
fine.
Low bar
funny
humor.
It's something kids will latch onto, right?
Well, right. I just don't think it's very clever.
Yeah.
But there was more to the character. So I ended up being kind of a neutral on the cat, which was far better than I thought I would be.
Well, it's also a cat, which is also polarizing to a lot of people. So
right. I mean, Dylan asked me before, I don't think he got to the movie, but he asked me before he was planning to get to it if the cat ruined the movie for me. And I just was like, that's the only thing I want to know. He's like, did the cat just drag it down? And I said, no, actually. Like a straight neutral on the cat overall. But yeah, I don't know. I found this a little disappointing and a smaller story than I was expecting for something like this, which, not all bad at times, but just kind of stuck in the mud a lot is how I felt.
Yeah. I think one of the things that maybe hurt this more than I was anticipating is that as good a job as Chris Evans does, I think he's fantastic for this role. I think the characterization of Buzz in Lightyear versus the characterization of Buzz in Toy Story are 2 different characters. At least like fresh out of the box, like Buzz the toy is very much like, I mean, he's talking into his wrist and saying like captain's log or whatever, blah, 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 going off and doing that. But then he's very like, he's using the laser against Woody right away and very apprehensive. There's a new world and stuff. And when he gets to the new world in Lightyear, he's like, all right, so this is where we are, and we're just doing some stuff. And look, a dangerous thing. Pew pew. Do. Like he's not as like aggressive, if that makes sense. And it's just
I don't really know what they should do with that. I was fine with them just kind of making him his own thing because, like, I mean, is the toy supposed to be exactly like the character?
True.
I really have no idea. I was fine with them.
That specific Buzz has a different
right.
characterization than the next.
I was fine with them just making it what they wanted it to be.
That's fair. I just found that a little incongruous, and it shook me a little bit. I was expecting him on the alien planet to be more of the space marine that he was, or is supposed to be. So, and we didn't talk about Socks. I'll talk about Socks. I loved him. He was great. It's one of the cute sidekick characters that I thought really worked. I thought he was his introduction is adorable. Him like walking around, the way he like walks around, but his legs are always straight, like they don't bend, and just how he like had to boop over stuff, I thought was pretty fun. So, yeah.
Well,
so
I
a
think
2.5
that's all we got.
Yeah, 3.5 from me. That is Lightyear.
Currently in theaters.
Currently in theaters for another couple weeks.
Yeah, definitely.
I believe it is my turn to put a wrap on the show.
Yeah, it is. Take it away.
All right. Mankind was born on Earth. It was never meant to die here.